Well, the efficiency of the Congress, I'm suspicious of. So
Yeah, we'll see.
if I get it, I'd be shocked. A lot of it depends. You know, they get those calls, they got to go to the floor.
Yeah.
The buzzer ring, they got to get going.
Are they calling you?
I don't know. You kind of don't know. This was a friend of mine, met him at his home in Massachusetts. Asked him about it, would he help us? So this is a lobbying effort for the Massachusetts delegation to support Leonard as a group.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to do. And use the Pope. He's Catholic, so he'll use the Pope as sort of background of we're all in this together kind of now, you know. It's the non-legal approach. I demanded 8 years ago to start this fight with him, that he served long enough, whether he's guilty or innocent, out he goes.
Yeah.
He served his time. We're done. We're no longer arguing, because the case brings the FBI against you. If you want to argue the case, we'll argue it again, and we'll put him in jail for the rest of his life. Right. And at the end of that argument is 2 dead agents laying on the ground. Well, you can't win that. You can win on the basis of he's 47 years in maximum security prison. That can work. Because everybody, well, he served enough time. Most times he served 18 years or 20, most. So there's some vengeance in this. So I'm trying to get that across. You know, I'm not a lawyer trying to get a legal support. I've changed that. And luckily I got the Pope to be able to do that as well.
You got some good backstopping there.
Yeah, through the Cardinal. I think Holy Cross is in Worcester, I think. The big Catholic institution up in New England. It's produced a lot of the politicians in the East for the Irish. There was always an Irish school, I would guess. I don't know whether your wife feels this way, but I felt that way about tours. At least they're over when they're done. You don't have to deal with them anymore.
Yeah, no, that's the cool thing.
You know.
Is it's all project based.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I've always loved about working in the film industry is that you know there's an end, right? So when you know that, sometimes it's easier to tolerate stuff for a longer period.
Yeah.
The bullshit, you know.
Because we're going through that now with this Chile film, which I have a copy of, by the way, if you ever want to read it.
Oh, I'd love to.
It's a script.
I would love to.
Remind me to give it to you before you go.
Sure.
I better wait for that call, I guess. But remind me to do that.
Yeah, you bet. I'll be here tomorrow, too.
Going through that is, wow, I don't know how anybody ends up making a movie. It's so damn difficult. To get 2 lawyers to talk to one another is, wow. But it's awfully good.
I'd love to read it.
I mean, I worry that Hollywood will never produce this at all. But if they did,
because it's too brave.
Way too brave. Too truthful. Yeah. So I'm waiting to see, you know, it's Scott Ridley, so it's an independent one. It's not a studio. Mm-hmm. And Sean Penn is the other one. There's 2 houses interested.
Right. You told me a little bit about this.
They're coming forward now because I was able to find someone in England out of the Peltier campaign to raise $150,000 to pay the scriptwriter to write it, which is my writer and director. Mm-hmm. And so he's negotiating with the Swiss people now that they give him that money on the condition that the British guy becomes executive producer of that film because he raised the money. Mm-hmm. So I'm waiting to see what happens to me. I don't know what that is yet. But it's about 120 pages. pretty special. Starts in Africa, I love. So it has it all. It's all there. Ferial, a torture victim, Veronica de Negri, her son set on fire in Chile. It's pretty powerful stuff.
I can't wait to read that.
Man. Do you want to get back into film? Your sentimentology is such a big vision, right? Seems to be a directorship or something.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm interested in doing. In fact, what we're doing right now is what I'm interested in doing moving forward. You know, I've done enough things and been in the business so long, 2.5 decades, you know, that now after this break and doing the technology company and all of that, you know, I'm only reminded of what I love the most. And that's really the thing I've always wanted to do, is tell real stories about real people. And, you know, you asking me to do this with you is just, I couldn't ask. I mean, I've told people this, you know, friends, I said, this is the one job in the world I would have taken this year. The one thing. You called me and asked me to do.
And you got to Baltimore.
Yeah, it's all meant to be.
I mean,
you know,
holy.
These things are not lost on me, you know. So, someone's listening, and but I truly mean that this is the one project I would absolutely have taken on this year.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Well, the nice thing, you have a target in mind. See, I don't have a target in my mind. I'm telling my stories. I don't know which one fits anything that we're
Yeah, and I'm going to have to
for.
figure that out too. We're going to have to figure that out together.
Yeah.
That's part of our.
Yeah.
That's part of our.
Well, we could send up eventually an LLC that we're on, and do it that way too, or a nonprofit. Either way, whatever way you want to do it, I'll do.
Sure.
I'm up for whatever you want to do.
Okay.
'Cause this is like a labor of love for me. This is what I want to talk about.
Me too.
Just the encouraging thing is I'm told that there's two. Sharon talks this way, that there's 2 documentaries out now, not about them, but Joanne Woodward and Paul Newman have one that is just them talking
About.
themselves.
Okay.
In other words, it's about not Paul Newman or Joan Woodward. It's about them talking about themselves in a film, like we're doing, and it's immensely popular. And then she said there's another one that I don't know the name of the famous person, but they did the same thing. And so the money is shifting from go tell this story, like the one we did with Nick and Amy, of other people talking about me. Now we're talking about me.
Yeah.
And they're more interested in this story now than they are those stories.
That's interesting. I was thinking about that earlier.
It's a concept change, is what Sharon says.
It is, and that's something that I've been thinking about too. That's really interesting that you bring that up, because this is a non-standard approach. Historically, it's non-standard, and that's the narrative.
Yeah.
It's not inverted like usually. So I agree with you, and I think that we're on the right track. And the story it drives itself. At one point, it kind of turns back on itself. So it's very interesting doing it in this inverted way, or opposite way.
I think the other thing is it's a time frame that I was in, which is odd, because
Is your phone on? Did you turn it off when we were?
No, it's on.
Okay. You silenced it when we were out shooting.
Oh, thanks for checking. The other part is it's odd because I probably have raised $120 million. I've probably averaged in that same career time probably less than $30,000 a year.
In your salary.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Really, I could show it to you. At Freedom from Hunger, I was at, I think, $14,000 a year.
Wow.
And 3 years with Dick Gregory, I made $12,000 a year. When I got the Peace Corps, I was 34,000, went up to something else. I don't know what it was, 50 or 60. I don't know. We got an increase somewhere in there. At Amnesty, my first 5 years, I was 34,000.
Wow.
And then at Human Rights Action Center, I make, except for a couple exceptions, I make 3,000 a month.
Mm-hmm.
So there's really no money there. I'm probably the only person who's done massive concerts and never made a dime off of them.
Yeah, because who does that?
Nobody. Nobody. Oh, they'd feel like they're wasting their time. And yet, if you were to go into a law firm, particularly in the Jewish community, I say this in a respectful way, every Jewish lawyer would want my career.
Because they would exploit it.
Totally.
Yeah.
Love it. Music, human rights, are you kidding?
Money.
Money like galore.
Yeah.
$10 million deal, $1 million deal, Adobe, Reebok. Holy shit. You'd end up a firm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And they knew it. I mean, I had so many lawyers trying to do the tours, donating. It was unbelievable. Harry Kromfeld, there was a whole mess of them. There was a whole load of them. U2's lawyer was mad at me because I didn't take them. I told him it's conflict of interest. He said, well, that doesn't bother people much. I'm like, I said, it's a conflict of interest. You don't understand?
What are you missing? What are we missing here? You know?
Well, that's the person I don't want. I mean, his name was Epstein. I was, oh, Jesus. The ones that did the world tour, I never met. The Kader brothers, and I never met the Kader brothers. They just did all of it from their offices, yeah. Free, everything. Brilliant. New York was much more generous than D.C. You can't get shit donated here. Nothing.
It's all pay to play.
New York is full of goodness.
Interesting.
Yeah, full of goodness. From my point of view, I could have went in there and got anything from anybody. Free meals to huge whatever. I used to go bother some of the, like Ahmed Erdogan, who ran a record company, one of the most famous, Columbia. And I told him, you know the president of Turkey, don't you? He said, oh yeah, he said, my friend. I said, well, really good. They torture a lot there. Now I want you to talk to him about torture.
Was he like?
Write $1,000, get out of here. And so did Jackie's boyfriend, the diamond dealer. He knew Mobutu, and I used to go to him and say, you know Mobutu, he's torturing, I want you to stop him and tell him personally. Because I thought, personal relationship, make it work for goodness, why not, But they never saw it that way. I was like a fucking nuisance and embarrassing them. But they actually knew the presidents. Yeah. So I kept going back every year.
Just get him out of here.
Yeah.
Get him out of here.
Oh, every year. Yeah. Here he comes. Here he comes again. Oh, God. The sweethearts were Jerry Moss and Herb Albert. They literally would leave that office as soon as I got there. I'd have the secretary, the whole plant. Oh, it was amazing. They were so sweet. We flew up to Bryan Adams with Gil Friesen, the president of that company. We flew first class, the whole 9 yards. I mean, whoa, boy, was that There we go. Hi, Jack Healey. Hello? Hello? Nobody on there. But it was really great fun. Bryan Adams was really a brilliant musician and could close almost like U2 or the Police. And his manager knew that, and he harangued me for 6 weeks. But he should be closing. He really did have the songs. When I gave my speech, I followed him because he left the crowd.
So jacked up.
Whoa.
Juiced up.
I could just ride that wave. It was
Yeah,
cut like a knife.
Yeah, when I was in junior high,
Boy.
that record was number one.
Yeah.
And
And
one of my favorite
he
records.
sold the biggest record of all time, you know. I forget what it was for a movie. That's the
know.
greatest selling record of all time, a single, not an album. He was a very nice, humble guy. He really was a sweetheart. The manager of the police, I fought terribly. He told me to sit down. I told him, take that chair and shove it up your ass. I'm not sitting down where you tell me to sit down. Oof. He wanted to try and cancel our TV show. So we called the artists together and did this battle in front of them. And I told them, we wrote to you a long time ago. I'll give you a letter. Here's a copy of the letter. This is what we wrote to you. Can't be changing now. So when the artists saw that, they all walked away because it was in contract. They couldn't do, even if they wanted to, they couldn't do anything. And Sting was embarrassed. I think it was the beginning of the end of their manager, because he didn't treat us very well. But he fought fair, though. He didn't fight unfair, you know. And then they wanted to be the closing band but I wanted U2 to be closing, and they changed without telling me, and I went after them. Can't do that. No. They said, no. We're the biggest band in the world. We're going to close, and we're going to close in New York too. I said, no, you're not. U2 started this, and the only reason I'm going to support them is not because they're U2, because they started it with me. I'm loyal to who got me started. So the second manager came to see me, and I told him, you know, after all was said and done, you Brits have had your fucking boot on our neck for 700 years, not this time. You know, he left it. You know, I had to apologize the next morning. I felt so fucking bad about it. Just so terrible. Oh, Jesus. Jacked us off the deep end, you know. So anyway, Paul McGuinness, in the middle of the night, the manager arrives from Ireland. His wife had a baby or something. All the boys come to my room about 3 a.m. Wake me up. I said, what are you doing here? He said, we hear you're fighting for us. I said, yeah, I am, but I'm not fighting for you. I'm fighting for the concept. The concept is whoever started me closes the show, because they opened the show, they get to close the show. It's that simple to me. I'm not fighting for you. Don't take it personally. You know, it's not because I'm Irish and all that shit that they're spreading now. No. So they said, no, Jack, we're fine. We want you to back off, you know. We want to go second behind, you know. And we kind of feel anyway we're going to burn the stage, and that good anyway. We're trajectory up. The police are on a trajectory down. You know, not putting them down, but being respectful to them. Yeah. One was replacing another. So you'll see it on those, if you watch the screen, where they hand the guitars to each other on the stage. It actually happened. And so I backed off, and, you know, at that point, and apologized, you know. But Graham was always, there was an amazing thing about him. He was always spiritual, because in Chicago, before we flew to New York, he got all the artists together for me to talk to them about how I was to thank them for what they did. He knew to do that, and when to do that. He knew I could speak from a stage, which I didn't know myself. There was something magical about him. There was something really special about him. To be with him was like a hurricane. I mean, you never knew what was going to happen. I mean, bets were off. I think I'm crazy. Woof. It made me look normal. Oy, oy, oy.
You know, I think I better start packing up my stuff.
Yeah.